Welcome to the Just Flight RJ Professional for Microsoft Flight Simulator, a high fidelity simulation of Britain's last airliner. The RJ is the most recent aircraft to join our ever-growing list of high-fidelity airliners in Microsoft Flight Simulator. Building upon the success of our 146 and F-28 Professionals, the RJ Professional has taken full advantage of everything those products have brought to the table and then raising that bar even higher. The RJ is not only our first-class cockpit airliner, but is also our most feature-rich product to date. High-quality modelling and texturing, a staggering depth of simulation, flight models based on data from the real aircraft manuals, and a truly authentic sound set recorded from the real aircraft. The RJ Professional has it all, and we would like to share with you what we have created in the remainder of this video. We are currently parked on stand in a Euromanx liveried RJ70. This is the shortest variant of the RJ family and was also the least produced. Now, this may sound like a strange way to start a video showing the least produced variant of an aircraft in the colours of an airline that, let's be honest, most people haven't heard of, but this is where some of the hidden beauty lies in flying these types of regional jets. There is so much enjoyment to be had, flying for airlines you have never heard of, on prototypical routes to places you never knew existed, and thanks to the RJ's fantastic takeoff and landing performance, you can take it practically anywhere. All of this on top of the plethora of mainline, even flag carrier airlines that operate the aircraft on busy hub-to-hub routes, means there is no shortage of places to fly. Whatever the route, the RJ can take you there. Alongside the RJ70, we've also fully simulated the RJ85. The RJ85 retains the same wings and engines as the RJ70, but features a 2.4 metre fuselage extension, which increases the maximum occupancy limit from 100 to 118. We've also fully simulated the RJ100, which is the longest variant in the RJ family, with a fuselage 4.8 metres longer than the RJ70. Interestingly, despite being the longest variant, the RJ100 still retains the same maximum occupancy limit as the RJ85, 118 occupants. This is due to the RJ85 and RJ100 sharing the same exit door configuration, and therefore the occupancy limit is dictated by the number of exit doors and not the amount of seats that can be fitted in the cabin. The RJ70, RJ85 and RJ100 represent all of the RJ variants that went into mass production. Each of these variants have their own dedicated flight models, system-specific systems and sound sets. And of course, they all come with a plethora of high-quality liveries featuring operators from all around the world. For the talented livery artists in the community, we will have a paint kit available from day one, allowing you to create custom liveries. Now at this point, users of our 146 Professional may be watching this video and thinking, but it just looks like the 146. And it does. From the outside, the 146 and the RJ share the same fuselage. However, it's on the inside where the differences really become apparent. Upon entering the cockpit, we are greeted with a retro-style glass cockpit. A primary flight display and a navigation display on both the captain and first officer sides are CRT displays, with the characteristic curve of the CRT display visible. Two primary engine displays are centrally located on the instrument panel, providing engine indications using a series of LEDs. The left PED covers engines 1 and 2, the right PED covers engines 3 and 4. The multifunctional control panel that runs along the glare shield houses the aircraft's auto throttle and autopilot controls. The vast overhead panel has controls for the bulk of the aircraft systems, and the LCD displays that are dotted around the cockpit show information pertinent to the respective systems. The cockpit certainly looks a lot more modern than the classic 146, however it still retains that blend of retro and modern systems that we just love to see. Everything you see here in the cockpit has been simulated to work exactly as it does in the real aircraft. using a mixture of the real aircraft manuals and input from past and present RJ pilots and engineers. The simulated systems range from the electrical system that has been simulated right down to automatic cut-off contractors on the connections between DC components that automatically open or close depending on the status of other electrical systems, a hydraulic system featuring the DC pump, AC pump, PTU and engine-driven pumps that is simulated to a depth that system pressure depletes over time if hydraulic pumps are not operating or if the emergency braking system is used. A fully automatic pressurization system with manual override modes, and something our 146 users will be jumping overjoy over is the addition of an auto throttle, which in itself is a highly complex system that links in with the FADEC and thrust rating panel, which in themselves have many sub-modes, including the option of turning them off completely and flying the aircraft just like the 146. Accurately simulating an aircraft systems to this depth sometimes means that we have to simulate some systems as inoperative, just as they were in the real aircraft. A good example of this is the MLS and VNAV buttons on the MCP. The MLS button was fitted to the real aircraft as at the time of manufacture it was thought that the microwave landing systems were going to become the norm and it would be beneficial to have the button installed into the aircraft from the day of manufacture as a form of future-proofing. As it turned out, MLS approaches were only trialled at a handful of airports and it never replaced ILS approaches as it was originally intended, and therefore the aircraft remains fitted with a non-functional MLS button. A similar story can be told with the VNAV button. The designers of the RJ expected the aircraft to be fitted with an autopilot coupled VNAV mode at some point within its lifetime. However, as we are now some 30 years since the aircraft's first flight, and the aircraft still hasn't been fitted with one, I think it's safe to say that day isn't likely to arrive, and therefore the VNAV button is also inoperative on the MCP. Don't let this fool you into thinking the RJ does not have any form of VNAV though, as we have simulated an aircraft that is fitted with a JNLU 910A FMS. To our knowledge, this is the most modern and advanced type of FMS that could be fitted to the RJ, and therefore comes equipped with some useful bells and whistles. Our FMS is fully custom coded and customised to how the FMS was spec'd for airlines that flew the RJ. The design and layout of the FMS may be fairly familiar to a lot of you, as it shares a similar design to FMSs that can be found in other popular aircraft types. On the FMS, flight plans can be entered on the route page, either via manual entry or via company route integration. The flight plan can then be viewed on the legs page, along with any altitude and speed constraints for each waypoint. Performance data can be entered into the performance initialization page, and once completed, will populate data into the VNAV climb, cruise and descent pages. Although the aircraft doesn't have an autopilot coupled VNAV mode, these FMS pages are still useful for calculating fuel burn as well as climb and descent performance. Based on the inputted data, the FMS will calculate top of climb and top of descent points and display the distance to those both on the FMS and on the ND. With the RJ having the ability to fly to and from remote airstrips, which may or may not have any nav aids or departure or arrival procedures, we have simulated the ability to add runway extension waypoints to the flight plan. This will add a waypoint to the flight plan a specific number of miles along the runway centerline, mimicking the position of a final approach fix. Another useful feature of the FMS is the VNAV approach option, which, when enabled, provides advisory VNAV information on the PFD and ND in lieu of no glide slope information. The VNAV approach option pulls altitude data from the waypoints in the flight plan and plots a descent path using those. This is a useful guide for pilots when approaching airports that may not have a glide slope or even poppy lights. One of the big improvements the RJ has over the 146 is the introduction of FADEC, Full Authority Digital Engine Control. In basic terms, this means that they are no longer in direct control of the engines. Instead, all physical throttle movements send a signal to the flight guidance computer, which takes your input and calculates what changes to the engines are required. I feel like we're only just scraping the surface of the depth of simulation that we have achieved in the RJ, and there is only so much information we can cram into one overview video like this one. But don't worry, we have written a series of manuals for the RJ that covers all of the RJ systems in full detail, as well as providing checklists and even tutorial flights. Across all three manuals, we have well in excess of 300 pages of information to sink your teeth into. It's well worth a read. Please do read them, they took a long time to write. As we stand up and prepare to leave the cockpit, we can see that a new enhanced security door is blocking our path. The door must be unlocked via the controls on the pedestal or on the door itself in order for it to open. As the door opens, you'll notice that the sound in the cabin becomes more prominent as we have simulated the muffling effect the cockpit door has on cabin sounds when in the closed position. The door opens outwards into the galley, which is quite intrusive to the cabin crew who need access to the forward galley workstation and service door. This is an important area of the cabin, as the cabin attendant panel above the service door houses controls for the cabin lighting, provides annunciators for various calls that may have occurred, as well as a ground service switch, which allows cabin crew members to apply power to the aircraft if no pilots are present in the cockpit and a ground power unit is connected to the aircraft. However, perhaps the most important feature in this part of the cabin is the functional coffee maker, which allows you to brew coffee on those early morning flights. On the opposite side of the galley, we have the attendance panel controls, which consist of a handset and an emergency lights button. Once the cabin handset has been removed from its cradle, various buttons can be accessed to make calls to the passenger cabin, rear galley and cockpit. All of these call types are accurately simulated in each location within the aircraft, with the correct annunciator lights illuminating and chimes playing for each type of call. The emergency lights button, as the name suggests, illuminates the cabin emergency lighting. Also in the forward galley, we have the digital music player. This popular feature from our 146 and F28 professionals makes a return in the RJ with up to 7 selectable music tracks to add to the ambience in the cabin. The music player includes controls for skipping music tracks, pausing, playing, shuffling, repeating and volume controls. It is also possible to import your own custom music using the instructions in the RJ's operation manual. One area that we haven't touched on yet is how we board and deboard the aircraft. We can do that via one of 2 passenger doors on the port side of the fuselage and 2 service doors on the starboard side. All of these doors are fully functional and can be opened by clicking the respective controls on the door. The forward passenger door is of particular interest as it includes a set of retractable air stairs that are stored in a closet in the forward galley. The stairs can be extended using gravity, but retraction requires hydraulic pressure in the yellow system. Users of our 146 will recall that you must have the AC pump switched on in order to retract the air stairs. Well, in the RJ, we've simulated an aircraft that is fitted with an air stairs hydraulic accumulator. This accumulator stores hydraulic pressure from the last time the yellow system was pressurised and allows for up to 2 full retractions of the stairs without requiring the AC pump to be switched on. This was an optional feature that was offered to airlines who ordered the RJ and therefore wasn't fitted to all aircraft. This is the case in our simulation too, as we have made the feature optional via the options on the EFB. Another optional feature as real aircraft and in this simulation is the integral stair lighting. If fitted, these lights will illuminate whenever the stair retraction switch is not in the retract position. Looking back into the passenger cabin, we can see the aircraft is fitted in the standard 3+3 seating layout with grey leather seats. We have modelled the cabin to be a generic cabin that can be realistically used with any livery you choose, but the textures will still be available in the RJ's paint kit should you wish to create livery specific cabin textures. Due to some quirks in the RJ's design, we have chosen to model the cabin specifically for each of the RJ variants. This allows us to accurately place features such as the smaller overhead bins in the centre of the cabin, where the centre fuel tanks and wing structure is located, blanked out windows where various pieces of plumbing work their way down the sides of the fuselage, and the 2+2 seating in the rear of the aircraft where the fuselage significantly narrows. Whenever we make content showing off our passenger cabins, we always get some comments from users who would rather not see these features and would rather focus on the cockpit experience. If you are one of those people, don't worry, we have catered for you too. Via an option on the AFB, the cabin can be disabled entirely, so you can happily fly the aircraft knowing that none of the cabin is being generated behind you. However, even better than that, you can enable the auto cabin crew option on the AFB, and you can let the cabin crew handle all of the tasks in the cabin. With this option enabled, the cabin crew will automatically open and close the doors during boarding and deboarding, and take control of the music player to provide a welcoming atmosphere on board. They will also inform you that the cabin is secured ahead of takeoff and landing, and you will also hear them walking around in the galley, making coffee and responding to any passenger calls that may be made throughout the flight. So even if you don't want to see the cabin, there is still a lot of extra immersion to be had through these extra features. Before we touch further on the AFB's feature set, the cabin's rear galley is also fully simulated and includes a similar feature set to the forward galley, with a cabin handset, functional worktop light, a simplified attendance panel just like the real aircraft, and fully functional doors. Moving back to the cockpit and to the AFB, the tablet includes a feature set that regular users of Just Flight aircraft have become accustomed to, including Navigraph chart support, SimBrief integration, a checklist app, map app, notes app, and top descent calculator. The RJ also sees the introduction of some brand new features not previously seen on our other aircraft, including a redesigned AFB interface and Navigraph en route charts. When opening the Charts app on the AFB, there is an option to display airport charts or en route charts. Airport charts allow you to search, view and save any airport chart in Navigraph's FAST database, and also allows you to draw on the charts with a pen tool. The en route charts page has 4 types of charts that can be shown: IFR high altitude, IFR low altitude, VFR and world map. These maps can be centred on the aircraft's present position and can move with the aircraft as it navigates airways, or they can be moved freely to view airways and navgates that may not be within the immediate vicinity. A dark mode toggle is also available on both charts pages to preserve that all-important night vision during those late night flights. The one page we haven't touched on yet is the aircraft page. This is likely the page you will be spending the most time on when you are in the aircraft. This page is packed full of features that you can use throughout your flight, including options to open and close the aircraft doors, fit external equipment such as chocks and GPU, load the aircraft with a specific fuel and payload, choose to trigger certain cabin announcements, and even select one of 3 safe states to load the aircraft into. Choose to load the aircraft in a cold and dark, turnaround, or ready for takeoff state if you'd like to quickly change the aircraft state. Upon first glance, that covers the main features on the aircraft page, but there are actually several sub-menus here that house a whole host of additional features. Starting at the top left of the page, the configuration menu includes a plethora of options that allows you to fully customise your RJ experience. From enabling aircraft-specific equipment such as high-frequency antennas or a metric altimeter, to quality of life additions such as a sync altimeter option that synchronises the barometric pressure on all 3 cockpit altimeters. There are so many powerful and worthwhile options in this menu, far too many to cover in this video, so we highly recommend reading our AFB manual, which covers each of these options in depth. At the top right of this page we have the failures menu. The RJ has a fully simulated failure system that can trigger time-based failures either randomly or manually by the user. This system is fully customizable and can be disabled entirely if failures are not your style. The second menu in the top right corner is the pushback controls, which allows you to call a pushback tug and control the direction and speed. In the bottom left corner we have an option to set a random payload in the aircraft, and we also have options to open the boarding simulation and refueling simulation menus. The boarding and refueling simulation allows you to trigger realistic boarding and refueling times without the use of any additional third-party products. During boarding, you will hear the sounds of passengers passing through the galley, and you will see the aircraft progressively get heavier as more passengers board the aircraft. For users of GSX, the RJ is fully GSX compatible. Just ensure that you have the GSX handling option enabled in the configuration menu. If all of those features weren't enough, we haven't even touched on the flight model and the sounds. The quality of a flight model is always tricky to get across in a video, and it can only truly be appraised once you get your hands on the aircraft yourself with your own hardware setup. What we will say though is the flight model has been built using performance data taken from the real aircraft manuals alongside input from RJ pilots and engineers to ensure maximum accuracy. Just like the real aircraft, we started with a flight model from our 146 Professional and then made all of the necessary changes to bring it up to RJ specification, including the higher maximum takeoff weights, slightly upgraded engines with fare deck, as well as all the other improvements that have been made to the flight model based on years of community feedback with the 146. Just like the 146, we are very pleased with what our flight model developer has been able to achieve with the RJ. In terms of sounds, it doesn't seem fair to tag a short section of the sound set at the end of what is already a very long product overview video. The headlining item from the sound set is that everything from switches, knobs and buttons, all the way to the engines, hydraulic pumps and avionics fans were all recorded directly from the real aircraft. Words do not do it justice, so instead we created a dedicated sound overview video covering the entire sound set. A short snippet of that video is playing in the background now, and we'll post a link to the entire 22-minute video in the description box below. We hope that 22-minute video gives you a good idea of the quality of the sound set. We're coming to the end of this product overview video now, almost time for me to take a breath. This video covered a lot of features that were included in our RJ Professional, and we know it's a cliche thing to say, but it really does feel like we're only just scraping the surface. There is so much depth to the features in this product, so much more than any product overview video could ever cover. The development team have put thousands upon thousands of hours of their time into this project over the past few years, and needless to say, the team are extremely proud with how our first glass cockpit airliner has turned out. We can't wait for you to get your hands on it and to try it out for yourself. If you have liked what you have seen in this video, we would love for you to leave a like, comment and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Let us know if this is the type of content you would like to see more of, or if there is any other type of video you would like to see from us. If you would like to see more information on all things Just Flight, stay tuned to our social media channels as we post regular updates on the products we have in development, as well as what updates we are working on for our current range of products. You can also visit our in development page on justflight.com, where we will post regular updates on all of our in development products. There you can also sign up for email alerts so you can be the first to know whenever a product is released.